I found the trash bag on my doorstep at 7 a.m., 3 days before my wedding. The black plastic was tied tight, but I could see white fabric pressing against it from the inside. My hands shook as I tore it open. My wedding dress spilled onto the concrete like a broken promise. The silk was stained with coffee grounds and something that looked like marinara sauce. A yellow post-it note stuck to the bodice read, in my future mother-in-law's perfect handwriting. "This cheap thing isn't worthy of our family name. I've already ordered you a proper dress. You're welcome. Diane." I stood there in my pajamas, holding the ruined dress, and something inside me went very quiet and very cold. This wasn't just about a dress. This was about control. Diane Fletcher had been testing me for months, pushing boundaries, seeing how far she could go. She criticized my job, called my apartment quaint, and told my fiancé I wasn't polished enough for the Fletcher family legacy. But this was war, and she had no idea who she was dealing with. My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 28 years old, and until this moment I had been trying so hard to be the perfect daughter-in-law. I'm a graphic designer and I love my work. I create brand identities for small businesses, helping people tell their stories visually. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I met Tyler Fletcher 2 years ago at a coffee shop in downtown Portland. He was kind, funny, and completely different from his mother. We fell in love fast. When he proposed on a hiking trail overlooking the Columbia River, I cried happy tears. Then I met Diane. She was a force of nature, tall and elegant, with silver hair styled in a perfect bob. She ran Fletcher and Associates, a prestigious law firm, and she made sure everyone knew it. From our first meeting, she looked at me like I was a stain on her expensive couch. "A graphic designer," she'd said, her voice dripping with fake interest. "How creative?" She asked about my family. My parents were teachers. My dad taught high school history. My mom worked with special needs kids. Diane's smile had frozen. "How noble," she'd said, the word sounding like an insult. I called Tyler immediately. He was at his office preparing for a trial. He worked as an associate at his mother's firm, something that should have been my second warning sign. "Babe, what's wrong?" he asked, distracted. I told him about the dress. There was a long silence. "She did what?" His voice was tight with shock. "She threw away my dress, Tyler. She destroyed it and left it on my doorstep like garbage." Another pause. "Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Let me talk to her." I felt something crack inside me. A misunderstanding. "Tyler, there's a note, in her handwriting. She said she ordered me a different dress without asking." He sighed, and I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. "I know my mom can be intense, but she means well. She just wants the wedding to be perfect." Perfect for who? I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, "I need you to handle this today." He promised he would. I hung up and sat on my couch, staring at the ruined silk in my lap. I had spent 6 months searching for this dress. It wasn't expensive, but it was mine. I'd found it at a small boutique, and the moment I put it on, I felt beautiful. Now it was trash. My best friend Kira arrived an hour later with coffee and fury. She took one look at the dress and swore loudly. That witch, that absolute witch. Kira was a lawyer, sharp and fearless, and she'd never liked Diane. "You're calling off the wedding, right?" she asked. I shook my head. "I love Tyler." Kira rolled her eyes. "Tyler didn't stand up for you again." She wasn't wrong. Tyler always played peacemaker, trying to keep everyone happy. But in doing so, he left me to fend for myself against his mother's attacks. Kira sat beside me, her voice softening. "What are you going to do?" I looked at the ruined dress, at Diane's smug note, and I felt that cold, quiet resolve settle deeper. "I'm going to get married," I said slowly, "but not the way she expects." Kira raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "I'm thinking Diane Fletcher is about to learn that I'm not some weak girl she can push around. She wants control. Fine, let's see how she handles losing it." That afternoon, I went to see my grandmother, Nana Rose. She lived in a small house on the east side of town, surrounded by rose bushes and memories. Nana Rose was 82, tough as nails, and the smartest person I knew. I told her everything. She listened, her weathered hands folded in her lap, her sharp blue eyes watching me carefully. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to her bedroom. She returned carrying a large, dusty box. "Open it," she said. Inside was the most beautiful dress I'd ever seen. It was vintage from the 1950s, made of ivory silk with delicate lace sleeves and tiny pearl buttons down the back. The fabric shimmered in the afternoon light. "This was mine," Nana Rose said softly. I wore it when I married your grandfather. My mother made it by hand. It's been waiting for the right person. Tears filled my eyes. Nana, I can't. She gripped my hand firmly. Yes, you can and you will. That woman tried to break you. Show her she failed. Tyler called that evening. I talked to my mom, he said, and my voice was flat. She said she was trying to help. The dress she ordered is from a designer boutique. It cost $8,000. She thought you'd be happy. I closed my eyes, counting to 10. Tyler, she threw away my dress. She didn't ask. She didn't care what I wanted. She just decided. He sighed again, that same tired sound. I know, I told her it was wrong. She apologized. Did she? I asked. Did she actually apologize to me? Silence. She will, he said weakly. She promised. I knew she wouldn't. Diane Fletcher didn't apologize. She repositioned. What about the dress she ordered? I asked. She wants you to go try it on tomorrow. It's at Bellevue Bridal downtown. I thought about Nana Rose's dress hanging safely in my closet. Tell her I'll think about it, I said. After we hung up, I texted Kira, phase 1 complete. Her response was immediate. This is going to be good. The next morning, I went to Bellevue Bridal. Deanne was already there, holding court with the shop owner like she owned the place. She looked up when I entered, her smile sharp and victorious. There you are, darling. Come see what I've chosen for you. The dress was extravagant, dripping with crystals and tulle. It was the kind of dress that belonged on a reality TV show, not on me. It probably weighed 20 pounds. Isn't it stunning? Diane asked, running her hand over the fabric. This is what a Fletcher bride wears. I looked at the dress, then at Diane. It's beautiful, I said carefully, but it's not me. Her smile tightened. Nonsense, try it on, you'll see. I shook my head. I appreciate the gesture, Diane, but I'm not wearing this dress. The shop went silent. Diane's face turned cold. Excuse me, I kept my voice calm, polite. I said no, thank you for thinking of me, but I've made other arrangements. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. What other arrangements? I smiled sweetly. You'll see on Saturday. I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there, furious and speechless. It felt incredible. Diane called Tyler within minutes. He called me an hour later, his voice strained. What did you say to my mother? She's livid. I explained calmly. I declined the dress she picked without asking me. I was polite, Tyler groaned. She spent $8,000 on that dress. I felt my temper flare. I didn't ask her to. She made that choice without consulting me. That's not my problem. There was a long pause. Can you just try to get along with her, for me, just until the wedding? I wanted to scream. Instead, I said quietly, I've been trying, Tyler, but she doesn't want me to get along with her. She wants me to obey her. That's not fair, he protested. Isn't it? When has your mother ever respected a single decision I've made? When has she treated me like I matter? Tyler had no answer. I love you, he said finally, but I need you to meet me halfway here. I hung up feeling hollow. The man I loved was asking me to shrink myself to make his mother comfortable. That wasn't love. That was surrender. 2 days before the wedding, I went for the final fitting of Nana Rose's dress. The seamstress, an elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson, worked magic. She took in the waist, adjusted the hem, and cleaned the lace until it gleamed. When I put it on and looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like a bride from an old movie, elegant and timeless. The dress fit perfectly, hugging my curves and flowing to the floor in soft waves. You're beautiful, Mrs. Patterson said, her eyes misty. I felt beautiful. More than that, I felt strong. Kira came to the fitting and gasped when she saw me. Oh my God, Deanne is going to lose her mind. I grinned. That's the plan. Kira pulled out her phone. Okay, walk me through the whole strategy. I did. I'd been planning this for days, every detail mapped out. Diane thought she controlled the narrative. She was wrong. This wedding was going to be my statement, my line in the sand. And when it was over, everyone would know exactly who I was. Not the quiet girl Diane could bully. Someone much stronger. The morning of the wedding, I woke up calm. Kira stayed over and we had coffee on my balcony, watching the sunrise. Are you nervous? She asked. I shook my head. I'm ready. The wedding was at 4:00 p.m. at a beautiful garden venue outside the city. Tyler and I had chosen it together, one of the few decisions Diane hadn't hijacked. I spent the morning getting ready with Kira and my mother. My mom kept looking at me with worried eyes. Are you sure about this? She asked, not for the first time. I hugged her. I'm sure, Mom, trust me. At 2:00 p.m., I put on Nana Rose's dress. My mother cried when she saw me. You look just like her, she whispered. You look perfect. Kira helped me with my hair, pinning it up in soft curls with small white flowers woven through. I kept my makeup simple. I didn't need armor, the dress was enough. At 3:30, we loaded into the car. My hands weren't shaking. My heart was steady. Diane Fletcher wanted a war. I was about to give her one she'd never forget. We arrived at the venue, and I stayed hidden in the bridal suite. Through the window, I could see guests arriving. Tyler's family was easy to spot, all designer clothes and practiced smiles. My family was smaller, warmer, laughing and hugging, two different worlds colliding. Kira peeked out and reported back. Diane is holding court near the front. She's wearing a cream suit, very mother of the groom chic, and she keeps looking around like she's waiting for something. I smiled. She was waiting to see me in her chosen dress, to watch me comply. She was going to be disappointed. At 3:55, there was a sharp knock on the door. Diane's voice cut through. I need to see the bride, now. Kira blocked the door. Sorry, it's bad luck. Diane's voice turned icy. I don't care about superstitions, open this door. I stepped forward and opened it myself. Diane stood there, immaculate and commanding. Then she saw me. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time since I'd met her, Diane Fletcher was speechless. What, she finally managed, are you wearing? I smoothed the silk of Nana Rose's dress, meeting Diane's shocked stare calmly. My wedding dress, it was my grandmother's. Diane's face cycled through emotions, shock, rage, and something that looked like panic. That's not the dress I ordered. Her voice was shrill. No, I agreed, it's not. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a furious hiss. You're embarrassing this family. That dress is ancient. People will think we couldn't afford a proper wedding. I smiled politely. People will think I'm wearing a beautiful family heirloom, which I am. Diane's hands clenched into fists. You did this on purpose. You're trying to humiliate me. I met her eyes, and my voice was steel wrapped in silk. No, Diane, I did this because it's my wedding, my choice. You threw away the dress I loved, so I'm wearing one that means even more to me. You don't get to control this. Her face went pale, then flushed dark red. Tyler will hear about this. I nodded. Good, tell him everything. She turned and stalked away, her heels clicking sharply on the stone path. Kira whistled low. That woman is about to explode. Music started. My father appeared at the door, handsome in his simple suit, his eyes proud. You ready, sweetheart? He asked. I took his arm. I'm ready, Dad. We walked toward the ceremony space. The aisle was lined with white flowers and soft lights. At the end, Tyler stood waiting, looking nervous and hopeful in his tuxedo. When he saw me, his entire face transformed. His eyes filled with tears, and he smiled so wide it made my heart ache. That smile reminded me why I was here, not for Diane. For him, for us. As we walked, I felt every eye on me. I heard whispers, gasps, some were admiring, some were confused. And then I saw Diane sitting in the front row, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. She looked like she wanted to stand up and drag me back down the aisle. But she couldn't. Not here, not now. Everyone was watching. I'd taken her power away, and she knew it. My father kissed my cheek and placed my hand in Tyler's. Take care of her, Dad said firmly. Tyler nodded, his voice thick. Always. The ceremony was beautiful. The officiant spoke about love and partnership. Tyler and I exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. When it was my turn, I looked into his eyes and said, I promise to stand beside you. Not behind you. I promise to be your partner, not your shadow. I promise to love you even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I saw him understand. Saw the moment he realized this wasn't just about us. It was about boundaries, about respect. He squeezed my hands and said his own vows, his voice breaking. I promise to protect you, to choose you, to be the man you deserve. When the officiant pronounced us married, Tyler kissed me and the garden erupted in applause. For that moment, everything was perfect. We walked back down the aisle together, and I didn't look at Diane. I didn't need to, I'd already won. The reception was set up in a beautiful pavilion strung with lights. Dinner was served, speeches were made. My father's speech was funny and sweet. Tyler's best friend told embarrassing college stories. And then it was Diane's turn. She stood, champagne glass in hand, her smile brittle. This was going to be interesting. Diane's voice was smooth, controlled. I'd like to say a few words about my son and his new bride. She paused, her eyes finding mine across the room. Tyler has always had a gift for seeing potential in unexpected places. When he brought home his fiancée, I'll admit I had concerns. She came from a different world, different values. I worried she wouldn't understand what it means to be part of the Fletcher family. The room went silent. People shifted uncomfortably. Tyler's face went pale. Diane continued, her smile sharp. But today, watching her walk down the aisle in that vintage dress, I realized something. She took a sip of champagne, letting the tension build. I realized that some people will do anything for attention, that some people value making a statement over respecting tradition. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother's face went white. My father half rose from his seat, but I stayed calm. I'd expected this. Diane wasn't done. Marriage is about compromise, about putting family first. I hope my son's bride learns that lesson quickly, for all our sakes. She raised her glass. To the happy couple. The toast was met with confused, scattered applause. Diane sat down, looking satisfied. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming next. I stood up. The room fell silent again. Tyler reached for my hand, but I gently pulled away. I picked up my own champagne glass and turned to face the crowd. Thank you, Diane, for those interesting words. My voice was clear, steady. I'd like to respond if I may. Kira was grinning. My parents looked nervous. Tyler looked terrified. Diane's smile faltered. I continued. Diane is right about one thing. Marriage is about compromise, but it's also about respect. About seeing your partner as an equal, not a project to fix or control. I looked directly at Diane. 3 days ago, Diane threw away my wedding dress. She didn't ask if I wanted a new one. She just decided I wasn't good enough and destroyed something I loved. The crowd gasped. Diane's face went red. She left it on my doorstep like garbage, with a note saying it wasn't worthy of her family name. More gasps. People were staring at Diane now, shock and judgment clear on their faces. I kept going. So yes, I'm wearing a different dress today. This dress belonged to my grandmother. She made it with her own hands. It represents love, sacrifice, and family, real family, the kind that builds you up instead of tearing you down. The silence was absolute. Diane looked like she might be sick. Tyler was staring at his mother with dawning horror. I turned to the crowd, my voice gentler now. I'm sharing this not to humiliate anyone, but to be honest. Marriage shouldn't start with lies or silence. It should start with truth. I looked at Tyler. I love your son, but I won't shrink myself to fit someone else's idea of who I should be, not even for family. I raised my glass. So here's my toast, to marriages built on respect, to families who lift each other up, and to the courage to set boundaries even when it's hard, to love, real love. The applause started slowly, then built into something thunderous. People stood up. My parents were crying. Kira was cheering. Even some of Tyler's relatives looked moved. Diane sat frozen, her face a mask of shock and rage. She'd been exposed in front of everyone who mattered to her. Her carefully constructed image was shattered. Tyler came to me, pulling me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, he whispered against my hair. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I held him, feeling something inside me finally relax. You can start now, I said quietly. The reception continued, but everything had shifted. People approached me, offering congratulations and support. Several of Tyler's aunts hugged me, whispering that they'd dealt with Diane's controlling behavior for years. One uncle shook my hand and said, about time someone stood up to her. My family surrounded me with love and pride. But Diane sat at her table, isolated, her husband beside her looking deeply uncomfortable. She'd created this moment herself. Every cruel comment, every attempt at control had led here, and now everyone knew. Tyler pulled me aside during the dancing. We need to talk about my mother. I nodded. We do. He ran a hand through his hair. I've been in denial about how bad it was, how much she was hurting you. He looked at me, his eyes red. I should have stopped her. I should have chosen you every single time. I took his hands. You can choose me now, starting today. He nodded firmly. I will, I promise. We're setting boundaries together. That's all I'd ever wanted. Not for him to cut off his mother, but to stand beside me. To be a team. We danced, and for the first time in months, I felt truly hopeful about our future. Around 9:00 p.m., Diane left. She didn't say goodbye. She just gathered her things and walked out, her husband trailing behind her. I watched her go and felt nothing, no triumph, no guilt, just a quiet sense of closure. Kira appeared beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. You did it, she said. You actually did it. I clinked my glass against hers. We did it. The rest of the night was perfect. We danced under the stars. We laughed with friends. We cut the cake and fed each other bites, making a mess and not caring. This was what a wedding should be. Joy, connection, love without conditions. At midnight, as the party wound down, Nana Rose called me. She'd been too frail to attend, but I'd sent her photos throughout the day. "I heard what happened," she said, her voice warm with pride. "You wore the dress perfectly, not just the fabric, but everything it represents." I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. "Thank you, Nana, for everything." She laughed softly. "You did this yourself, sweetheart. I just gave you the tools, you had the courage." We said goodnight, and I tucked the phone away, feeling blessed beyond measure. Tyler and I left for our honeymoon 2 days later. We flew to Italy, spending a week in Tuscany. It was magical. We talked for hours about everything we'd avoided before, about his mother, about boundaries, about what kind of life we wanted to build together. Tyler was different after the wedding, more present, more protective. He called Diane once during the trip. The conversation was short and tense. When he hung up, he looked drained but resolved. I told her we need space. At least 6 months. No visits, no surprise drop-ins. If she wants a relationship with us, it has to be on our terms. I hugged him tight. "How did she react?" He laughed bitterly. "Not well. She said I was being manipulated, that you'd poison me against her." I pulled back to look at him. "And what did you say?" His eyes were clear and steady. "I told her the truth, that she'd done this to herself, that until she could respect you and respect us, we needed distance." I felt a weight I'd been carrying for months finally lift. This was what partnership looked like. Not perfect, but trying. Fighting for each other instead of against each other. We returned home to our apartment, tanned and happy. Real life settled back in. I went back to work at my design studio. Tyler returned to his cases. We started therapy together, working through the patterns we'd inherited from our families. It was hard work, but it was worth it. 3 months after the wedding, Diane called. Tyler put her on speaker. Her voice was stiff, formal. "I'd like to speak with you both, if you're willing." We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown. When we arrived, Diane was already there, looking older somehow, smaller. She didn't waste time. "I owe you an apology," she said, looking at me directly for the first time. "What I did was wrong, all of it, the dress, the things I said, the way I treated you." She paused, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup. "I was trying to control something I had no right to control. I was." She struggled with the words. "I was scared of losing my son, of becoming irrelevant, and I took that fear out on you." I didn't speak. I waited. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. "Not yet, but I'd like the chance to try again, to do better." Tyler looked at me. This was my decision. I thought about everything that had happened, the hurt, the anger, the wedding day confrontation. I thought about the woman sitting across from me who'd built walls so high she'd trapped herself inside them. I thought about the future. Did I want years of coldness and distance, or did I want to try? "I appreciate your apology, Diane," I said carefully. "It takes courage to admit you were wrong." She met my eyes, and I saw something genuine there. Regret. Maybe even shame. "But words aren't enough," I continued. "If we're going to rebuild, it has to be through actions. Consistent, respectful actions." She nodded. "I understand." Tyler spoke up. "Mom, that means no more surprise visits, no more criticizing our choices, no more trying to control our lives." Diane flinched but nodded again. "I understand," she repeated. "We didn't hug, we didn't make grand declarations, but we paid for our coffee and made plans to have dinner the following month. Small steps, careful steps." As we walked to our car, Tyler squeezed my hand. "Thank you," he said, "for giving her a chance." I squeezed back. "I'm not doing it for her, I'm doing it for us, but she's going to have to earn it." Slowly, carefully, things improved. Diane came to dinner once a month. She asked about my work and actually listened to the answers. She complimented a design I'd done for a major client. She brought flowers once, not expensive show-off arrangements, but simple daisies. "These reminded me of the ones at your wedding," she said quietly. It wasn't much, but it was something. Tyler and I had our first anniversary in the same garden where we'd married. We renewed our vows, just the two of us, with Kira and my parents as witnesses. I wore a simple sundress and Tyler wore jeans. No drama, no performance, just love. Kira toasted us with champagne. "To the couple who survived the mother-in-law from hell and came out stronger." We laughed, but there was truth in it. We had survived. More than that, we'd learned to fight for each other. A few weeks later, I got a package in the mail. Inside was a beautiful frame, and inside the frame was a photo from our wedding. Me in Nana Rose's dress, Tyler looking at me like I was his whole world. There was a note in Diane's handwriting. "You were right. This dress was perfect." "I'm sorry I couldn't see it then. Diane." I showed Tyler the photo and the note. He read it, then looked at me. She's really trying. I nodded. She is. Was it perfect? No. Did Deanne still slip sometimes, making comments that stung? Yes, but she caught herself now. She apologized. She was learning. So was I. I was learning that setting boundaries didn't make me cruel, that standing up for myself didn't make me difficult, that I could be strong and kind at the same time. Nana Rose passed away that winter, peacefully in her sleep. At her funeral, I wore black, but I thought about her in ivory silk, young and hopeful, believing in love that lasted. She'd given me more than a dress. She'd given me the courage to be myself. Tyler held me as I cried, whispering comfort into my hair. Deanne came to the funeral. She hugged me briefly but genuinely. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, she said. She raised a remarkable granddaughter. It was the kindest thing she'd ever said to me. After the service, my mother pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, she said, for everything, for standing up for yourself, for giving people room to grow. You're wiser than I was at your age. I hugged her tight, grateful for her strength, for the foundation she'd given me. A year and a half after the wedding, Tyler and I found out I was pregnant. We told our families together, nervously watching for reactions. My parents cried happy tears. Deanne was quiet for a moment, then smiled, a real smile. Congratulations, she said. You're going to be wonderful parents. That night, she called me separately, just me. I want you to know, she said, her voice careful, that I won't make the same mistakes with your child that I made with you. I won't try to control. I won't criticize, I'll just love if you'll let me. I thought about the woman who'd thrown away my dress, about the woman who'd tried to humiliate me at my own wedding, about the woman who was now, imperfectly, trying to change. I'll let you, Deanne, I said, but the same rules apply, respect, boundaries, honesty, she agreed. When my daughter was born, we named her Rose after Nana. Deanne came to the hospital with flowers and tears. She held Rose gently, looking down at her with wonder. She's perfect, Deanne whispered. Just perfect. I watched them together and felt something settle in my chest. Peace. We'd come so far. Not through silence or surrender, but through truth. Through the courage to stand up and the grace to let people grow. My wedding dress, Nana Rose's dress, hung in my closet, preserved and waiting. One day, if Rose wanted it, it would be hers, along with the story of the day I wore it, the day I learned that love without respect isn't love at all, and the day I chose myself, finally and completely. The day Diane Fletcher learned I wasn't someone she could break, I was someone she had to respect. And in the end, she did.